We are getting quite close to the airport now, actually. The airport should be down there. I think I can already see it. It just went below the nose. Aircraft is still descending quite nicely. Let's zoom in once again. Sync up the heading here. And we should probably start slowing down a little bit, because that will help with the turn performance. So about 119 knots should be good, I think. And there's the airport right there, right below us. So for this visual approach, we will be flying right around this mountain here, and around here we will be starting our turn back towards the airport. So that should be fun. And the aircraft once again needs our help with the descent here. And also slowing down a little bit more. There we go. We are now at 109, approximately 200 knots, so that's great for our approach. And we're also approaching 10,000 feet, so landing lights can go back on. And the flaps can stay where they are for now. We don't need those just yet. Let's set the altimeter for the airport now as well. So the altimeter is apparently 30.24 inches. And again, the aircraft has lost the VNAV profile, so let's just disengage VNAV altogether and just descend to our altitude manually. And let's also extend the first notch of flaps now to help with the drag a little bit more. And now seems like a good time to clear this discontinuity here. So execute that. That took care of that. That's great. That got rid of our notification here on the screen. And actually now we need to switch to heading mode real quickly, and I'm going to grab the chart here. We're going to turn towards 242 degrees. And there's 6,000 feet, so add some thrust again. Can retract the spoilers as well. And as soon as we are able, we will turn back towards the airport and intercept the ILS for the runway. So we'll continue on this heading for just a little while before we turn back. Can probably also switch to nav mode now, so we can actually see the localizer and also the glide slope right over there. So right about now should be a good moment to turn back towards the airport. And as we are getting close to the airport, it seems like a good time to turn off the music as well for just a second, so I can hear myself think again. So we want to go approximately direct to the Pinnick waypoint. We are currently still at 190 knots. And look at this view. Quite nice, actually. Currently turning back towards the airport. So the intercept angle will be not too steep, so that's great. So the aircraft won't overshoot, I think. Speaking of the localizer, there it is. We are now intercepting it, and we can also switch to approach mode now, which will arm the glide slope, and we can also turn off VNF now. We don't need that anymore. And there we go, the aircraft has intercepted the localizer. You can already see the airport down there. And terrain radar is probably pretty good to have during this approach. So let's now do the approach checklist. Oh yeah, landing data, we almost forgot about that. Very quickly. So the temperature is 3 degrees. Altimeter is 1024. Wind is variable at 2 knots, so that doesn't really matter that much. And the conditions are dry, so we can send the approach speed. There we go, that has been sent. So landing data is set, crew briefing complete, avionics and flight instruments are checked. Minimums have been set. Fuel transfer selector is off, external lights are as required, ice protection is as required. Flaps are 15 degrees, we are now intercepting the glide slope, so we'll monitor that. Passenger briefing is complete, seats are upright, yes, that's all great, okay. There we go, that's the checklist completed. Can reduce the thrust again. And I'm going to set a altitude of 2600 feet, which will be our level off altitude for the visual approach. So right now things are about to get a little bit more hectic. So at a distance of 1.7 nautical miles, which we can see here, we are going to make a turn towards 042 degrees. So I'm going to set that heading right now, like so. And gear is coming down, and also the next notch of flaps. That should help us slow down and get back onto the glide slope. We are quite high, as you can see. It's a pretty steep approach, but we are supposed to be a little bit less high than this, so don't worry, we can make up for it quite easily. And actually, I'm going to take over from the aircraft now to actually assist with the descent. Yeah, so keep an eye on that distance reading there. As soon as it hits 1.7, we are going to make our turn. And there's our altitude, so we can level off now. Minimums. Checked. And we should also add some thrust now. Trim the aircraft out a little bit. And there's 1.7, so let's select heading mode now. There we go. Getting a little bit too low, so let's correct our altitude a little bit. Speed is good. So before landing checklist, gear is down, flaps are full, aircraft is not quite trimmed yet, still making sure everything's fine. Lights are all set, minimums are set, speed is good. So right now I'm just looking at my Navigraph chart to see when we need to start our final turn towards the airport. So once we start our turn, I'm not immediately going to start the descent because we actually want a steep approach path with this airport. That's actually what you're supposed to do at this airport. So we are going to wait with our final descent just a little while. So at this point we can start our final turn towards the airport. Keeping an eye on our altitude there. Airport should appear right there any second now. And we can probably start a shallow descent now of approximately 500 feet per minute. Also keep an eye on the speed, we are getting a bit too fast. So there's the airport right there. Getting quite close to the terrain, as you could hear that 500 feet warning. There it is again. And as you can see from the papillites, we are in fact too low for this approach, so we will level off just a little bit, and there we go. We are now on the glide path, so we can now start our final descent. Also increase the turn rate just a little bit here. There we have the airport in sight. Still a bit too low, that's fine. And back on glide slope. Right above the thresholds. Thrust to idle. And there we go, we are on the ground. Correction, now we are on the ground. So spoilers are out, decelerating. And there we go, guys. Welcome to Lugano Airport. It's quite a hectic approach. A lot of things to do at the same time. But we made it, so that's great. Let's turn around on this runway and taxi to the ramp area. We had a little bit of a bounce during that landing for some reason. I thought it was a pretty soft landing, but apparently not. I wouldn't call it a butter landing, but actually it might have been quite hard. But I actually recorded the landing, so we'll see in just a moment how hard this landing actually was. So yeah, flaps can be retracted again, radar can go off, we don't need it anymore. And we actually don't need the pitot heat as well, we can turn that off as well, like so. And then we'll vacate the runway right here. Landing lights and strobe lights can go off as well, taxi light can go back on, it is already on, there we go. And then we'll park right over there. But you know what, maybe over there is a better spot, so we do not need to push back or anything like that. Because this aircraft doesn't have any kind of reverses or anything like that, so let's park the aircraft over here. Right around here should be good enough. Parking brake is set. So yeah, like I said, I recorded this landing, so let's take a look and see how bad or how good it actually was, shall we? But first I need to finish up my flight here on Volanta, so that it doesn't do any weird stuff when we try to replay this landing. But yeah, here's the application that I'm using for our replay here. Flight Recorder. It is a free add-on that you can download from Flight Sim 2, and it's actually quite nice. So let's take a look at this replay. So here we are, just about to turn back towards the airport with the very nice sunset over there. And we're just passing by all of the mountains and hills, which makes this approach very nice actually. So the airport is right over there. At this point we were already descending, but I probably should have waited a little while longer. But yeah, that's fine. Normally you have to come in pretty steep at this airport. We did manage to do the turn quite well, I feel like. Didn't overshoot the runway that much. Yeah, we were low on the glide slope pretty much all the time, so that's something to improve next time we go to this airport. At this point we were finally sort of on glide slope, but not very much. So at this point I was reducing the thrust to idle and starting the flare, coming in quite hot it seems. Barely managed to save that, but for some reason we went back into the air and then we slammed it into the ground. So the initial touchdown was quite soft, but then somehow I managed to screw it up just a little bit. But yeah, this aircraft does stop on a dime, so I wasn't really worried about the stopping distance. But yeah, that was the replay, so let's pause the replay here, go back to the ramp area and then stop the replay. And then we can shut down the engines for just a while. Taxi light can go off as well as the seatbelt sign. Can cancel those warnings. And the N1 and N2 has dropped below 10%, so we can probably turn off the beacon light and shut him up as well. There we go. That can go off as well for now. And we'll go down here and we'll set the ground power unit again, so that the battery doesn't run out, of course. And we'll also turn on the cabin light just a little while, so the passengers in the back can actually see what they are doing there. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed that landing. I certainly did. And right now I'm going to go on a quick 5-minute break, so I can go to the little men's room, and I can also plan the next flight back to my home airport in Antwerp. So yeah, we'll see you back in 5 minutes approximately, so be sure to stick around.